Welcome to the Hall Space Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. Hello.
Hey there. Welcome back.
Welcome back to another episode of the Hall Space Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and with me is my lovely and capable wife, Nicole Hall.
Hey there.
Hey, so welcome back to another episode 15. We are
episode 15.
15 episodes into this experiment.
Hey.
Glad you could come along with us and be a part of it.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Special week, yeah?
Yes, special week. There's a lot going on this week.
For 2 reasons.
2 reasons?
Uh-huh.
Multiple of the reasons.
Multiple reasons.
All right. What are the reasons that this week is so special?
This week is so special. Number 1 for us, because it's your birthday.
It is going to be my birthday this week.
You will be turning
43. Yeah, you paused a long time. What was that? Like you forgot.
Paused too.
I paused because I was waiting for you to say it. And then I was like, wait, she might not get there by herself. So maybe I should make sure that I'm
Johnny on the spot there with me.
Shoot. Yes.
Yeah, you will be turning 43. Your birthday is on Wednesday.
It's on Wednesday. I took the day off.
Hey.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want to do work that day.
Right. Because why would you?
I often find over the years, I found it harder and harder. I don't know why that is. I mean, you know, when you reach a certain age, your birthday isn't quite as special as maybe it was when you were a child. And,
right.
You know, they blew up balloons and took you. And there was cake and streamers and all these things happen. Mm-hmm. So the older you get, you know, the less you know that people outside your circle of friends and family don't care that much about it.
Right.
So, you know, the world's not going to come to a stop because you have an event. I would just go to work. And for years, I was that guy who just went to work. But I'd still be in my head like, it's my birthday. What am I doing here?
What am I doing here?
Why did I do this to myself? Like, I can blame no one but me.
You should stay here. We'll make it, you know, special like we do every year.
Yeah.
You get
I wasn't planning on staying at home. I was going to roam the streets and get in adventures. But.
You're gonna get into COVID adventures?
Yeah,
really?
Not really.
No.
At the most, I was thinking I could go to the record store.
You can go to the record store.
I can go to the comic book store.
You beat me to it. I was totally gonna say you're gonna go to Mavericks. You're gonna go to the record store.
Yeah,
you're gonna go
one of my best
downtown
birthdays.
to get something to eat that's your favorite.
I'm going to go get some favorite foods.
Yes,
I'm going to do some adventurous things that, you know, are going to be different during COVID, but you know, I like the idea of not having any major responsibility to other people. Nothing against my clients or the job I do. I really do love the job I do. But the idea of just having a day where I don't have to do it is like, okay, middle of the week, just take off.
Listen,
why would I go to work?
Right. Don't do that. Listen, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but Michael B. Jordan put out a video that said self-care is important. Yeah. And self-care is important.
Mad important.
Super important.
Mad
and
important,
it's your
son.
birthday.
Yeah.
And you're in this house every day.
Every day, all the time.
All day.
Yeah. Take care of these kids.
So take your
wife and grandmother.
Grandma and the cats and all this other
cats.
Cats. Fighting cats.
The fighting cats.
The fighting cats.
The fighting cats. We have 2 cats. We have an old cat. Quintessa. Some people in my job knew her as basement cat because I would tell jokes about
she
basement cat.
She lived in the basement for a number of years.
Yeah, we moved from one house. We got her at an apartment. We moved to a house. Then we moved to the second house. Mm-hmm. She hated the house. She refused to leave the basement.
It was an old house. It was built in 1902, something like that.
Yeah, it was
genuinely.
That's
the creepy cellar, but it had also this charm, this Victorian charm.
Yes,
you know?
yes, high ceilings and very nice architecture and
architecture.
It was a nice little house.
It was cute, very cute.
Yeah, the Hereford Mansion is what we called it because it was a step up.
Yeah,
and Quinn, our cat, Quintessa Thandiwe, she hated the house.
She hated it.
And maybe because she hated the process, like we put her in a box and then took her to the basement. And the intent was to let her sort of acclimate to the basement and then slowly but surely bring her to the house.
Every time we brought her up.
But she refused. Every time we brought her up, she refused to stay. She would run back to the basement.
And we were there like 4
Yeah, like 4 years. Yeah. And she lived in the basement for 4 years. So she would occasionally like meow, and sometimes she'd want attention.
She'd come up to the stairs and meow, and you'd touch her head.
But mostly she stayed in the basement and pooped literally everywhere in that basement.
So we call it a basement, but it's really a creepy cellar.
That's what Nicole called it. But it was listed in there by the real estate agent as a basement. It was, for all intents and purposes, a basement.
Creepy cellar.
But it
like
was
scary movie.
Yeah, it was like rock walls.
Where
like that constantly shed.
It looks like
shed pebbles and dust.
And you had to crouch down to get down in there.
It was a little low in a low ceiling for a 6 foot tall man like myself. It looks
like it was part of the Underground Railroad, kind of creepy. Like, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so the cat lived in that basement, and
she lived in there, and she puked and pooped everywhere. And,
and it was a bitch to clean it out when we moved because she had created so much mess down there, and we kept her with a litter tray, but she just didn't respect it.
She didn't care,
and maybe because the place was filled with so much dust that she just didn't see it as valuable to continue
she didn't
using.
Care at all.
Yeah. So it was really hard to clean up, and. Yeah.
And then we moved here.
And then she rejoined the family after 4 years.
Legit. She rejoined the family.
Right.
She lives with us amongst us. Right.
She literally is amongst us all the time. And it was a strange transition to go from this cat who did not seem to like us to, first, she was like our first kid. So we were like
when we got married, we got her like 6 months in, so she's as old as this marriage is.
Yes.
And her name, Quintessa Thandiwe, means pure loving one.
Yes,
because
that's right.
she would sleep with you on top of your face and purr and just...
Right.
She's
so very
this
loving.
white, fluffy Siamese cat.
Yeah, there'll be a picture of her in the show notes.
We'll post it.
We have some pictures. And so she was like this important part of the house. We moved to the first house from the first apartment. After that fiasco, that was the end of the first apartment. We got into some trouble with the landlords, but that's another story for another day. We won't tell that one today.
Slumlords, but yes.
Yeah, and so she was still a part of the family, and then we started having kids at the house. And we brought another cat in, and she didn't get along with that cat great, but she got along with him definitely better.
Yeah, she got along with him better. He was only a little bit younger than her.
Yeah, that's Omari.
Bomani.
He was only a couple years younger.
His name meant warrior.
Yeah, and he was a tough cat, and I loved him, but we lost him under tragic. I call it tragic circumstances. He ran away when we moved to the new house.
Lost and couldn't find
got lost and just he couldn't find his way home.
He was like a dog. He would like chase stuff. He would catch mice. Like he was great.
He would catch squirrels.
He would catch squirrels. He would catch chipmunks.
Yes.
We would let him go outside, and all the animals would make noise like, "Oh no, he's coming!
He's coming outside!" You'd hear the squirrels chirping, because he was out, and they would want to alert the other squirrels that this cat is out and he might cause terror. That's how bad Omari was. When we used to joke, it was like Omar on The Wire.
Yeah.
They'd be like, Omar coming. Omari coming. Omari coming.
He's got his little whistle.
Whistling the farmer in the dell.
Yep.
So that was we lost him, and then Quinn moved to the basement and refused to come out, and then we moved here, and Quinn was suddenly a new part of the family.
Right.
And just recently, within the past couple of weeks, it's been maybe over a month.
It's about a month now.
Yeah, we got a new cat, Raven.
Yep.
Raven. They call him Raven or Buddy.
Well, so we call him Buddy because you know how sometimes we talk to the kids, we're like, "Hey, Buddy." Yeah. And so they say that now to the cat, like we should call him Buddy too. So now his full name is Raven Maximilian Marshmallow. Marshmallow is Victoria. So
she added that part.
She added that part.
Yeah, but they call him Raven.
Call him Raven.
And Raven is a little bit of a bastard in that he's got claws. He's our first cat. He's the first cat I've had, I think, in years with claws. Normally we get our cats declawed, but that is fallen out of vogue these days. You're not supposed to do it. Not doing it. Even though he is literally ripping apart our leather furniture. We had we had a nice faux leather chair in the bedroom that my wife sat in by the door. I mean, it still functions as a chair,
but it's not.
But he is ripping it to ribbons.
Oh my gosh, it's the worst.
It's a brown chair, and we have a chaise that he also is starting to rip into. Yeah. And I'm a lot more annoyed about the chaise because I feel like I can replace the brown chair, but that chaise is like there was a particular time in which that chaise was made, and it fits the aesthetic of the room. It's the aesthetic
of the room and everything. Yeah,
the brown chair does, but not quite. I had always planned on upgrading the brown chair, but I don't want to like have to switch out that brown leather chaise because then I got to get rid of the bed too. And like the whole aesthetic is now taking a turn.
It goes in perfectly in our room.
Right. And it's also like I got it off of Facebook Marketplace. Big Facebook Marketplace shopper. Yep. A little weirder now with the pandemic. I haven't been able to do it as much.
I feel like Facebook Marketplace has always been weird. It's like, you got a toaster.
Okay, you think it's weird.
Me in the driveway, I got this toaster.
I've bought a lot of things for this house.
You do.
Off of Facebook. This house was largely furnished. This desk I have is Facebook Marketplace.
It is.
The chair you're sitting in is Facebook Marketplace.
It is.
Chair in your room is Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
The chair I'm sitting in, my office chair, is also Facebook Marketplace. So
you like to go foraging in that way.
I like to go foraging for
strangers
deals
in their driveway. For
and just brave the. I don't know. Will it be bed bugs or will it just? Will I just get what I want?
We'll just see.
We'll see. But I got a desk in the closet that's also from. So not a desk, a dresser.
Well, and it's always so inexpensive. And what
dresser in our closet? Yeah. Dresser in Victoria's room.
That's right.
A lot of Facebook Marketplace,
and it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
It's usually always pretty good stuff. It's never a bad deal.
Well, and honestly, if you can catch people during a certain time, I know when Grandpa died earlier this year, we had a ton of really beautiful, good furniture. We had the baby grand piano, and none of us had anywhere to put it. And we really just needed to get him out of the condo, basically. Get his furniture, get out of there.
Where do you put a baby grand piano? That's a huge investment.
Listen, if I could have found a place to put it.
Pianos are hard to offload.
They are. They're beautiful.
Nigh impossible.
No one wants to buy them for what they're worth. Not even the resellers.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful piano. But we had a dining room set, like all of that. We gave that stuff away, basically. Like we didn't charge any money. We just said, if you have a truck and you come here,
to get it out of here,
you have the ability to get.
You can have it.
And it's the furniture I grew up with.
Yeah.
I mean, and I regret not just taking the furniture and putting it somewhere for myself.
In storage?
We have nowhere to put it
we
either,
have furniture. That's usually the problem when it comes to
and no room for
death,
it. It's big furniture. Yeah.
For the most part, you spend most of your life building, your furniture for your house.
Right.
And it's not like we live in a mansion where we have a second dining room to furnish.
Right.
So something like that happens and you're like, well, what do I do with this item that has some level of connection and history with me, but I also do not have, like, I've got my own house. You have your home, and that was the discussion that we had. It was like, we're creating our own aesthetic, we're creating our own memory for our children. Yeah, and those were incredibly important to me growing up as a kid. Yeah. But there was so much other stuff that we were able to take with us to remind us, Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so Facebook Marketplace, great to do that kind of stuff. But so we got the cat, and he, Quinn is Raven the new cat. We're circling back around. Raven the new cat, and he's a bit of a boxer.
He's like 5 months, and Quinn is 13 years old,
and she is over.
She ain't got time for that.
Yes, she's over him.
He is the aggy little brother,
constantly growling at him.
And smacking him in the face, and he's like, "Are we playing?" And she's like, "No, get out of my face!"
And he's just like attacking her out of nowhere. Yep. Often, so frequently.
It's a lot. They fight a lot.
Yeah. But she's genuinely just wants to mind her business.
She really does.
So she reemerged in our family as this creature who just kind of like sits on the edge of couches,
judging us all
at the windows, or you know what I mean? Like she just sort of wanders about, doing her thing.
Yep.
It was weird for the first couple of months of like, oh, we have a cat in the house again.
Oh yeah. And then she jumped in the bed and was sleeping with us, and I'm like, hey.
So you do like us again.
Aw.
Yeah, and we had intended on leaving her in the basement. She was like, nah, I don't like this basement the same.
I don't like the basement. It's the same. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll hang out down here, but I want to
Because, they stay with cats. You're supposed to put them in our room and let them acclimate to the new house and let them calm down. But she was like, I don't want to do this basement thing. I'm gonna come up and see what you guys are getting into. Yeah. And she almost immediately became a part of the family again.
Oh, yeah. And she loves the brown chair as well. She sleeps under it, or she used to.
Yeah. Before Raven started messing with her under there. So she's constantly like growling curse words at him.
Yeah.
Like,
and you don't want to have to deal with that on your birthday. Like, the kids will be in school. I'm going to be working. Yeah. So.
I mean, I wouldn't say I don't. I like being at the house. I don't have anything against the house.
Well, but you can go away for a few hours and then come back, and we'll have your birthday stuff ready. So we, on the day of the birthday, for every member of the family, we do we decorate the house. We do your favorite dinner, and then we have Richie gets 2 cakes often for his birthday.
Do I get 2 cakes? Am I the only one?
Well, you and Ra.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a benefit to being the favorite child.
Yes. Yes.
For the firstborn, first of your name.
Firstborn, first of your name.
I'm not the first of my name, the second of my name.
You're the second of your name. You're named after your father. And yes. But yeah, so it's, there
are times where, I mean, mom will make a cake on your day and.
She will. Or she'll
she
like
does
do
that with almost every
on
kid.
Your day.
Yeah.
She'll do it for the baby.
You get some kind of sweet and then on your actual birthday.
On your actual,
And normally we would do like a dinner or normally our birthday celebrations, the hall birthday celebrations, for those who've ever been able to attend them, are like a dinner where we go somewhere and like hang out and chat it up until the restaurant kicks us out. Then we stayed in the parking lot and talk some more until they tell us to go. So
I miss being able to do that.
Oh my God. Yes. I can't trust a restaurant right now. It's like, I know. Even with everybody there, it's like,
well, the thing
you
is,
got to pass through all the people to get to your space.
And we have our COVID circle, right? Mm-hmm. But we want everybody to be able to come, Yeah,
you don't want to exclude
the Johnsons,
people.
The Wiggins, we haven't seen those. We've seen them kind of, but not.
I mean, we haven't seen anybody in person, I don't think.
Not in person, no. Uncle Beaver came and dropped stuff off on the porch when you had COVID to make sure that if we need anything, he brought us like fruits and vegetables and stuff that we needed.
Yeah.
Which was super sweet because he lives way far out.
Who?
Uncle Beaver.
Oh yeah, Beaver. Yeah,
he was coming.
He did come over to bring me some stuff during COVID. I forgot about that.
Every week or so, he would say, "Do you need oranges?" Or "I'm going to the store. Do you need anything?" And he'd bring.
That's right. So nice. Having family is nice.
Man, it's so awesome. But we still we maintain our circle and
we've limited it significantly.
Aunt Ruth she's
immunocompromised. You're immunocompromised. My mom is immunocompromised.
Yeah, it's just
so you have to make decisions around the fact that there are many people in my life.
But so your birthday's coming up. You're turning 43. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be interesting.
A for awesome.
A for awesome.
Yay! Join it.
Yeah.
Get into it.
Yes. And I mean, so I'm not against aging per se. I there are elements of aging that I definitely could leave.
Yeah.
Better than take. My back now occasionally hurts. Some of that's COVID. Some of that's sitting in a chair all the time. And moving around less. Now, if I get up and walk around for like 30 minutes, my body's like, so why did you decide not to sit back down?
What do you think you're doing?
Yeah. And so I know I need to be more active. I've been trying my best to be more active when I have the chance. We're going to do the 30-day challenge, babe. Sure.
Yeah, we're going to try
It's November 1st, so of all the days.
This is.
When we record this on November 1st. It probably won't come out until November 2nd.
Right. But we're going to try it. We're going to do some clean eating and we'll do some cardio.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the 50 squat challenge.
Yeah, I definitely need to get my body back into some kind of shape.
Oh man, it's rough.
I think the last time I was in this bad of shape was that 3-month span where neither you or I were working.
Oh, right before we got pregnant with Ra.
That was how we got pregnant with Ra, wasn't it?
Totally how we got pregnant with Ra.
Was that Ra or Dave? That was Ra?
That was Ra.
Yeah, you were unemployed and I was between jobs.
You were in between
for like 2 months.
Yep.
And then
it was all summer.
Yeah. And
it's a hot summer.
We were married and doing what married people do.
Things.
Yeah. And made it.
And the thing was, like, we're 3 months in, and I'm like, I don't feel good. I'm getting sick. And it's like, so not only am I laid off and you're not working, but now we're having a baby.
Yup.
So I
scary times.
I had a bunch of interviews. And I went into my interviews in my second trimester. Mad pregnant, yo.
Undeniably pregnant. There's an elephant in this room.
I had my jacket buttoned as tight as I could. I'm wearing my regular girl suit, but I'm trying to hide this baby bump. And so I would, I was reading all kinds of articles on like, whether you tell them or not. And so I made it to the 5th interview at like GE or something like that. It was a contract position, but it was with a company with GE or whatever. And I made it and they're like, oh, we have 2 more levels to go. The last is the president or I don't know of the department or vice president of the department.
Yeah,
and I said, okay. So I hit my 8 weeks. You hit 8 weeks. Anything after 6 weeks, you can start telling people. And I hit that 8 weeks and I was like, all right. So I just want you guys to know because you're putting me on a project that is specifically time driven. I was going to be a project manager. And I said, I'm
back
pregnant.
when you were going to be
I was going to
interviewing for project manager jobs.
I did. I wasn't sure that, development was for me because the last experience was so horrific. Different story for a different day too. But yeah, so I never heard back. I had done so well in all of the interviews and I never heard back. And then
you said preggers and they were like,
ooh. And you know what, honestly, if you have a project that's time driven, you can be out 3 months, 4 months, maybe not come back, so, I mean, I guess I get it, but send me I'm sorry, we are not going to accept you because of this, kind of thing. Then I interviewed at Cincinnati State.
Yeah, I remember that was funny. Right before all this hit, and they were talking about jobs feeling ghosted, right? I don't know if you remember that, but it was like they hire people for a job, but then people never show up to the job, and they were upset that. That's right. I remember we were reading about that. We're like, yeah, so you applied, but then you don't come in the first day, or and they're like super surprised. They're like, how dare they? How dare they? And yet jobs have been doing that to us for years. Forever. And they can do that. You never got any feedback on why you were not chosen for jobs. No, it was just the way it was. Never hear from them again. But the fact that it was happening to the job, it was something remarkable. Like, you're just not going to come work here? Got a better gig. I chose you. Got a better gig. Dare you? How dare you? Just never heard back. I can't believe. Everybody wants to be the pretty girl at the dance. In HR, when we don't know if you're going to come to work. Right. It's like, well, I mean, and I remember thinking it was crazy. Like, you got the job, but then you don't show up the first day. Like you said you was going to do it, and then you don't do it. But I'm an over communicator when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, hey, I'm probably not going to be able to do this. Yeah. Or, hey, I'm excited. I'm going to do this. Yeah, no. The job never had any responsibility to treat you the same way. The job never does, which is why if you have days, take them. Take your sick days. Richie Vaughn, you have mass. I have so many vacation. You have mass days. And y'all, he gonna take one for his birthday. Bruh, I done took the week. So many vacation days. I've got like 20 something. It's probably, I don't know. Too many. Way too many. Too many, Ethel. Too many. Yeah. Your mama has mass days too. My mom also does not take sick days. That's where I get it from. It's a learned behavior. It is. But, honestly, she started living her life and going on cruises. And actually, the first year that we had Ra, she had so much vacation time. She took 2 days a week from August up until the end of the year. I remember that. Yeah. Because she had so many days, and HR was at the point where they were taking her days back because they're like, we could never, because companies are supposed to pay you out for those days if you decide to leave. They just stop giving them to you. She hit her max. And so she's like, well, I'm going to take Thursdays and Fridays off for the rest of the year and take care of Rob. Help us take care of our kid. Yeah, I remember that. That was wonderful. Wonderful to have that support. Ethel Hall is a saint, okay? Let's just put that out there. She'd be having our kids all the time. Yes, we definitely appreciate my mom. Shout out to my mom. Shout out. We love you and thank you. And you're the real MVP. You were the real MVP in these streets. Because, wow. Yeah. I mean, maybe the kids would be living, or maybe we would kill them. I don't know. No. We would have definitely figured it out. For sure. But so, yeah. Wait, I lost track of what subject we were on. So we were talking about your birthday. Yeah. And we were talking about actually taking that time off. Yes, taking time off and doing some things to reflect and right. So we'll have, the day of, we always do something. Yeah. And then the weekend, either that Friday or that Saturday, we usually have a party of some kind where everybody can under normal circumstances. Join. And if you're a kid, the day of is, typically at home, and then the second party is at Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese-ish. Some kind of Chuck E. Cheese. Some kind of Chuck bouncy E. house. Yeah. / that kind of place. Yeah. 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 That's normally what we do. Yeah. Oh, crap. I've got 42 days of sick and 35 vacation days. Y'all. I'm sorry. No. 45 sick days. 41 vacation days. You should really use those days. Yeah, because they do top off. They will start taking them from me. Yeah, they do, because they can't pay you out for all those days. That's why they put a cap on it. Like, we have so many employees. If everybody decided that they were going to
leave, you get paid out for whatever sick days you've accrued. It's simple math, y'all.
I mean, 5 or 6 of those are definitely days that are going to go to, I have to take some of the holidays at Christmas. So there's like 3 or 4 of those between Christmas and New Year's.
Sir. But you could be like, I'm going to take November off.
I could fundamentally take November off. Or every Friday for the rest of 2020 or something if I wanted.
And this is all, y'all, this is also the same guy that worked while having COVID.
What? Why you gotta, I mean.
Yeah, I'm putting you out there.
I mean, I didn't see people in the flesh.
Everything is telehealth. And he's quarantined to Victoria's room.
Victoria's room in my office.
In your office.
Those are the 2 places I went.
Those are the 2 places that no one else went.
Designated for me.
Those were, we had like the caution tape. Yeah, like it's just your area. Yeah. But you didn't like rest during that time.
Yeah.
You went to work. And even your boss was like, I
mean, I took a couple days off. I took the days I felt horrible off.
You took the, yes.
And then after that, I was like, I think I can see a couple people here.
And that was like 2 days. And then you're like, I just don't want to reschedule these people. I'm just going to go ahead and see them anyway. It's just sitting in my chair talking to them.
Yeah. And I was able to do it. I was fine.
Listen.
I mean, I don't suggest it for everybody. I'm a workaholic. I don't know if you guys remember, but when she asked me, I work a lot. When she asked me what I was doing that weekend.
So what do you do on the weekend?
This is how it was introduced to the romantic side of Dr. Ritch Hall before he was a doctor.
Because you're so romantic.
Yeah. I work a lot. Because I do work. I'm a workaholic. So I got 3 jobs now. 2 half jobs and 1 full-time job is usually how I operate.
They all still count. You can't. It's 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
3.
I mean,
they're all within the same.
I don't know. There's only like a few times where you've known me where I've only had 1 gig.
I know. Since
I started working, since I got my first job at Arby's.
I know.
Way back when I was 16, I have always I did that no. I was at Arby's and then I went to work at a production company over the summer. So I did have the very first year I started working, I was working 2 jobs.
If y'all can see me roll my eyes. And listen. I'm sorry. I appreciate the work ethic. I do. I really do. Like, man, don't work, don't eat, right?
It keeps bacon in the fridge.
Listen.
I literally bring home the bacon.
Somebody's got
right brand bacon
to make the donuts. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But I'm also work smarter, not harder. So I try to get bang out of my hours. So I want to do my 8 hours and make a lot of money and be done. Right?
Well, I mean, the other side of that is you chose a job where people were willing to pay large sums of money for that with a bachelor's degree, whereas I chose a job where
you had to go all the way up.
Pennies up until 5 years ago. People were paying me in pennies.
There's no ceiling for you though. I'd have to quit my job and go somewhere else if I wanted to make more.
I mean, that's different. So working in the college environment, you find, most people assume colleges have tons and tons of money, but in reality, they're not paying that great.
But you know what they do have? Great health care, though.
They have great health care. They have a lot of soft benefits. Like if you have kids that eventually plan to go to collge, you get free tuition, which is worth it in this environment. And, free tuition at any of the campuses. So, a lot of soft benefits, a lot of things that come with being connected to a college, software, hardware, discounts and stuff like that.
Access to like you said.
The actual salary usually, so salary in comparison to other people who are working in the private sector, so it's like I'm doing way better than a person without a PhD technically, but I'm not doing much better than a person who is in certain specialty fields. Like if I'd gone into HVAC repair, I'd probably be making about what I make or more.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly after this much experience is sort of the other difference.
Well, and honestly, it depends on what you do and where you do it, right?
Yeah. With any job, it always depends on what you do and where you do it. So it's like, I can't complain oh, no, I'm not doing well at all. There are a host of people. I'm definitely in a different bracket than, I make more than the average American does currently.
Right.
And I'm in a job that's technically safe in a pandemic.
And it's flexible.
Yeah.
And it's flexible.
Oh, it's incredibly flexible. Academia is more flexible than, working in a counseling center, but it is flexible relatively.
Yeah.
I should do that. We'll talk one day about hey, what is it like to go get a degree in psychology and why would you do that?
Yeah.
I am now officially at the place. I don't talk about this a lot, but I am now at the place where I can sell it. If you had talked to me 5 years ago when I first got out of graduate school, I was traumatized. Yeah. So if people
I went through all of that for this.
And when people would ask me or they'd send their kids to me to talk about it, I'd be like, oh, are you sure you want to do it? Are you absolutely certain
you saying,
you want to do
don't
this?
go to grad school unless you have to.
Unless you really know you want it, because they are going to try to just beat it out of you. And if you really don't want it,
very true.
It's gonna break your spirit. So don't do that to yourself unless you were absolutely certain you don't want anything else.
Well, and
that's the reason I did it. I didn't want anything else in my life. And one day, I should also tell the story of what happened to me in graduate school and how it traumatized me and why.
Yeah, it was
because it was a journey. Mm-hmm. And now I'm on the other side of it, and it's at this point so far away. That's the interesting thing. I will give you this piece of advice before we go to commercial. When you're going through a thing at the time, it doesn't seem like anything else is going, it's the biggest thing in your life. But with any trial or tribulation, you get to a point where years later, you're like, oh, that was the thing that happened. And I remember how hard it was. And I remember how it almost broke me. But now it's just a memory. It's just a thing that if I think about it hard enough, I can remember the emotions and feelings that were tied to it. But I'm so far past it now that it does not have to be a thing that defines me at all. And at the time, it was like, oh my God, I'm facing so many trials from so many different sides. Mm-hmm. It's just me and Jesus. And there are only one set of footprints behind me because he is definitely carrying me through these trials and tribulations.
But there are so many things that go that way, right? And this was my trial by fire.
Do I really want this thing?
This was your journey.
Yeah. And now
and every time you had to reassess and say, is this something
that I really want to do?
Well, and you got so far, you're like, I'm this far.
Right.
You have to keep going. You haven't been brought this far
to fail.
Yeah.
And so it was perseverance. Mm-hmm. So, this wasn't easy. And now we're in a place where, where I'm pretty stable in the gig I have and have the choice of, do I want to continue doing this? Do I want to grow? Mm-hmm. I started a private practice as a way of sort of expanding, which is the third job that I have now.
And there's no ceiling for you.
And there's no ceiling for that. I can make it as big as I want, as hard as I want to work. Yep. And so a lot of the conversations I'm having now about my career are, do I stay within the university system, or do I strike out on my own where it would be harder work in one way, but also still doing the stuff I love. So I don't know. It's a big thing on my plate. But I will, once again, I'll leave you with this before we go in commercial, because we got to do that. We got to pause for the cause and I don't know, sell some ads, I guess. But I will say, just remember this: when you're going through stuff, as you're aging, as you're growing, at the time it feels like the worst thing that could ever happen. But people say it gets better. Things resolve, but in reality, I am a testament. My testimony is, no matter how bleak it looks at the time, there usually comes a point years later, days later, months later, where you're like, oh, that was a thing that happened, and that seemed like everything, but now it's just a thing that happened.
Seems like eons away.
Yeah, is some other day.
On another
after
episode.
The break, we're going to talk about some other important stuff that's going on, and
this week,
the other stuff that's going on in the world. But I'm sorry for holding this off. I don't want to be that person who's being particularly mysterious about this thing. I just don't want to relive it now.
It's a lot to go through too.
And you can tell by the fact that we spent so much time on it that it is still a bit of a sore spot. Even 5 years later, I'm like, I got so much at the surface here.
Yeah.
So that tells me, you need to process this, and maybe this is a way to do it, but we'll do that on another day. Maybe next episode, or an episode after that or something.
Yeah.
Once I can get my head wrapped around how I want to tell that story, because it tends to sprawl once I try to tell it, because if you haven't noticed, a little long-winded. So we're going to pause for the cause on that note and come back from our commercial and talk to you a little bit more about what's going on in America today.
See you soon.
So let me tell you about Anchor Podcast. It's the podcasting service that I use. Anchor.fm is the easiest way to make a podcast, and there are many different reasons why, but foremost is it's free. So you don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment. If you have a phone or a computer, and a microphone. You can record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. So that's one major benefit, as well as the fact that they'll distribute your podcast to several different podcasting sites for you. Not only can your podcast be found on Anchor, it can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast as well. So you don't have to worry about going to all those different sites and setting yourself up. They'll do it for you. You can also make some money on your podcast. Say you have a podcast that only 5 people listen to on a regular basis. They don't limit you on how many subscribers you have to have in order to be able to make a little bit of change for your podcast to keep yourself going. So pretty much everything you need to start a podcast can be found at Anchor.fm. So go download the app either in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or go to Anchor.fm to get started. And I guarantee you, it'll make things so much easier for you, like it has for me. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Dr. Ritch Hall. I'm the host of the Hall Space Podcast, and my lovely and capable wife, Nicole, with me.
Hey there.
Welcome back from the commercial. And we were talking about aging and growing up and some of the trials and tribulations that I've been through without actually talking about them with any clarity. But like I said, we'll loop back around on that on another day.
Your grad school experience will be a different episode, and it'll be something that I think a lot of people who are considering school, who are just in a tough position, period. That's, it'll be an important episode.
Yeah.
But it needs its own episode.
Yes, I do believe that. But now we were talking about being older parents.
Yeah. And so we waited.
We did wait.
We waited to get married.
Yes.
We met when we were 20. And unlike, past generations who get married at 20 and start working and doing their thing, we went to school and we dated forever, and then we got married. We were engaged in 2005.
Yes.
And then 2 years because we wanted to save up for the wedding.
Yeah.
And so 2007 we got married, and so we were both 29 and 30 years old.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have Ron until we were 31.
Yes.
And so while a lot of the kids that we went to college with were getting into relationships, having kids, even getting married.
Many people that I went to high school and college with, they had started their families
now. And stuff.
They're starting their second phase of life now as grandparents. I've got quite a few people, and it's hard to think the girl I knew as a cheerleader, she's a grandparent now.
Yes, her kid has a kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're
some of them are close to being, full on grandparents. They've got kids.
Because if you're a 20-year-old, your kid will be 20 by now.
Yeah.
And your 20-year-old could have
I remember Terry said that to me because his son turned, his son's 19, 20. I think Adam might be in his 20s now or just about to turn. He was like, I could be a grandparent soon. And I'm like, what? No, that doesn't make any sense.
Adam's not that kind of kid, but yeah.
And yet it biologically totally possible.
Happen.
Yeah. And
so we were kind of talking about the pros and cons of, we got together. We met each other when we were particularly young.
Yeah.
And either, jumping in head first and doing it and then, or
if we had, we'd be so far done now. We would not be homeschooling a kindergartner unless it was our grandchild. And then we'd be like, sure, send them over.
We would be helping with the grandkids. That's what we would
possibly.
Be doing. Yeah.
Possibly. If we had right then, but I would have made so many mistakes.
Well, we definitely. So
many more mistakes.
I mean, we made mistakes just in our relationship alone.
Yeah.
We were just young.
Yeah.
In the words of Victoria Doofy.
Yeah.
I found out where she got that from, some stupid YouTube thing. But yeah, Doofy. Yeah. And honestly, I like the idea that we got to do all this random traveling.
Right.
We met the Huddlestons at some point. We were able to do cons with them.
Do Comic Cons and travel all around the East Coast.
We could just go anywhere.
Yeah.
And we
so
weren't
trips to
rich
Charlotte,
at all.
So many trips to Florida.
Oh, yeah. We scrounged and we saved. And we nickeled and dimed. And
I remember we were at a party and we were talking to someone. And we were like, we'll be in New Orleans in a couple weeks. And then we'll be going to Charlotte. And they were like, why do you do so much traveling? It's like, we have friends who are doing Comic-Con. It didn't occur to me at that time that it was weird to be doing that much traveling because that was just what we did from like 2005, I think from like 2007 to like 2010, I think. Till we had Rob. So like 3-4 years, we were just all over the map on the East Coast.
And we had a great thing going because we love traveling with them. Yeah. And if we drove, we would drive together. And if we needed to fly, we would just meet and split the hotel.
Right.
And then while Terry would work, Yuli and I would
roam the city and have brunches in nice places.
Brunch. Oh my gosh.
Brunch so hard and
help Terry tear down and then go out for the night. And
it was a good gig.
I wouldn't trade that time. I wouldn't trade that time.
Yeah. I mean, as I was saying in that before off the air, I do wish we had like gone a little more international. Like I think we didn't see it as within our reach, but
there was this glass ceiling that we
for some of the costs that we spent just to like for one of those trips to Florida, we could have probably gone to Europe or
we could have gone
Nigeria or
Nigeria. Oh yeah.
There's always a part of me that my inner Hotep. And I don't see Hotep as a full-on negative stereotype. I know it's been turned into a negative stereotype. My inner Hotep, whenever I say, I want to go to Paris, why don't I want to go to Africa? I should want to go to Lagos. I do want to go to Lagos. I mean, if we're asking, yes, I absolutely want to see the pyramids, and I'd absolutely like to see.
I would love to go to Egypt. I remember when Pastor KZ Smith did that. They took a trek to Egypt.
That was actually before my time, but yes.
Oh, you weren't? Okay, so we joined the church after that. But
after he had done
our church, he had gone. Him and the First Lady and a couple of other members went to Egypt. And I remember thinking that is the coolest thing. Yeah. And it reminded me of the time when Malcolm sort of did the same thing. Yes. He was talking about people of all colors praying together and eating together.
It definitely, I think it gives you a perspective to travel to. I mean, not that other places don't have their own social ills. No. But I think in America, we forget how multicultural the world is. Yeah. And as a result, we think our concerns are the only concerns. And that is one of the things that I do want to give my children is, sometimes when you see some of the trials that kids go through, and I definitely see it, it's because they think their circle is they're used to dealing with this small circle of people. Right. And the world is so much bigger than that. And that the perspectives that they're often fed by those people, like you can be bullied for something because you think this is the way the world works, and in reality,
it's not true.
There's a much larger world,
many different ways.
And when you get out of your zone of comfort and when you
get out of your bubble, you can really experience other people, other cultures, other thoughts.
Right.
And I honestly, I think it makes you more empathetic if you're paying attention, if you're absorbing it. Yes. And I think also just the idea that you can do it. Right.
Yeah,
so
you could travel, what you think your limits are. Yes. You can probably exceed them.
Yes.
And like I said, I always sort of saw my limits as being, I mean, we had a passport because of our honeymoon, but I always had it in mind, but it's always like, well, I needed to save up X amount of dollars to do that.
Right, in order to do it.
And we would just take some of those Florida trips, like let's just hop in a car and drive to Florida.
Because we know what that is.
Got a couple $100 and I know I get paid this Friday. So we'll be there in time to get more money in the bank to make this trip happen.
Yeah, there's a number of people in a couple of Facebook groups that I'm in where the lady and her daughter's a teenager now, they for their holidays they go international. They fly and they experience different countries, and I think that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I think some of the limitations of what you assume are limitations are similar
really
to
not.
Like when we're in Florida and I suddenly need a regular thing that I would have at home. And just because I know, I mean, at this point now, we've been to Clearwater so many times that I know, this is where the store is to go get that.
I don't need to bring this. If I forgot it, then I can.
Yeah. I think some of those same skills would probably translate well. I remember I was at a Republican function with my Republican friend, and we were talking. You
drove for the vice president?
Yeah, no, that wasn't the thing that this was. Okay. This was probably Randy's. When he was applying for state representative.
Oh, that's right. He was
running for state representative. But like, I remember talking to a young guy, same age as myself, and he was saying that he would often like fly standby to certain places. Like he would fly to Paris on standby and then stay in a hostel. And I remember thinking, you can do that? Like, I had genuinely, as a kid from Aiken, from
College Hill,
Cincinnati, you just had no concept of the idea that, you could get a cheaper ticket by going to the airport and waiting in the hopes that a seat opens up that you could sit in for
you only need
pennies
one seat,
on the dollar.
Just you
just need one seat. And you could just wander the world. And always kind of wished I had kind of got up the courage to do that.
Yeah.
Never did it. But I remember saying it to people, and they would kind of look at me like I was crazy. Like, you know, you could just hop on a plane and do it. And they would be like, what? And I guess that also speaks to when you're in these circles, you know, other people from like Aiken and
well,
whatnot.
that circle kind of has the same glass ceiling.
They assume the limitations.
Yeah.
And so you're saying it to them and they're looking at you like you're a crazy person. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But this guy told it to me that he does it.
Yeah.
And I checked into it. It seems like a completely viable thing.
Right.
You know, way back then, this is in the 90s. I don't know, with security at airports and things like that, you definitely probably couldn't do it in the same way you could now.
No, but I bet you there's a way.
I mean, there are ways. Yeah. If you really wanted to go somewhere, it's not that expensive if you figure it out.
Yeah, there was a guy when I worked at Cincinnati Bell. He's one of the guards, and you know, I would chat with him at the end of the night, and he said that when he lived in Florida, if he wanted to do something for the weekend, if you wait for those cruise ship tickets, they would fill the room.
I can even explain to you how it's done, and you might not believe it, but rich kids almost never believe they have limitations.
Yeah.
They're like, I could do this and this. And we have we're at my summer home and you're what kind of life do you live?
There are so many kids that I know of that have traveled internationally way before I ever did.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I had only been out of Ohio once before you.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of knew that I brought that on myself. I made the mistake of taking her to Florida our first year together. And then
now we got to go back every year.
Now we have to go back every year. And it was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to front the bill on that every year.
But you know what, though?
It became an ongoing
one of the discussions that we had this past year or so was that we wanted to not do Florida anymore and expand our horizons.
Yeah, because we still need to hit the West Coast. We have not gone to the West Coast.
Not gone to the West Coast. And we know people in the West Coast.
There are people we need to visit.
Shout
out to Michelle and Joaquin.
Hey, Michelle, Joaquin.
And Stephanie. I don't know if they listen to the podcast, but
I don't know either, but I tell you what. Yeah, but no, I mean, there are tons of places that we have yet to visit.
Yeah, but plans. I mean, thinking of like, it's my 43rd year on the planet, 43rd circle around the sun. Things I want to do next are travel.
Yep.
Definitely.
And travel some more.
And travel some more.
And then travel some more.
I mean, maybe traveling a little bit more travel, but I mean, I got to see the entire globe. There are definitely some places where I want to stand and be, in the environment and smell the air and feel the ground beneath my feet.
Yeah.
And a few waterfalls I'd like to take some photographs of.
Yeah. I have many dreams for what I want to show the kids.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be the thing too, is how do we show the kids more? Because they're finally at the age where we feel comfortable with them on a plane.
Yeah.
It was always Victoria was too small and noisy to consider to unleash her on people, but she's getting at the point now where
she's
you give her a device, she can entertain herself.
Give her headphones and a device, and
she could get through a 5-hour flight, 6-hour flight.
Oh yeah, I mean, and honestly, it's only 2 hours to Florida. I mean, that'll probably be our first test.
Yeah,
test flight or
it was always a little like it feels less expensive to throw them in a car and drive.
It does, but it's so painful. That 15 hours, bro.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's hard on the body.
It's hard on our bodies. Yeah, we lose a whole day because it's like we've been driving 9, 10, 12,
yeah, you're stuck in a car for that much, and our bodies did not bounce back like they did when we were 20.
And the kids are like, we went to the beach or no?
Yeah. And we're like, I need to rest for like 2 days to get my body back in shape to be able to also...
My back hurts.
Lug all this stuff you need to the beach and then sit out there for 2 hours. Then you get bored and want to go back, and then we got to find something else to do. So
but I think I think we set those goals before COVID happened.
When the world opens up.
But we had talked about it before COVID.
Yeah, we had talked about trying to travel. Yeah,
traveling to different places, and we have.
I think there's going to be a boon on travel when this is over. Like, there's going to be so much. Like, tourism's going to suffer for the next year, 2 years. But like, people are going to want to go everywhere.
It's going to be exponential.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hop on
all of the planes. Yeah.
All of the planes.
Yeah.
And just leave me there. Okay. Let me go. Just leave me there.
Yeah, no, I'm for it.
I am too.
Absolutely. I think it'll be good.
I think so too. And so I think, when your birthday comes around, you do think about all the things that you want to do, the things that you've done and all of that. And so that's the thing. But the interesting thing about your birthday is that it always falls during election
on
week.
election day or the day after election day.
Yeah.
Election day is always within a day or two of my birthday.
Right. So election day is either November 3rd or November 4th. It's whatever that Tuesday.
Yeah. So you never had to remember election day because you always remember my birthday's happening. So
yeah. And honestly, I mean, I think one of your birthdays was President Obama party.
Yes. Yes. In 2008, we did have an Obama themed birthday party.
We had a Obama themed
which would have either gone really well or really poorly.
Badly.
We would have really been really happy or sad. But fortunately, he won. So.
Fortunately, he won. And we had mom made an Obama cake.
Yes, there was an Obama cake.
But it was happy birthday, Richie. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know we love you.
It was an O-shaped cake. But no, I requested Obama cake. I was like, can you make an Obama cake? The O of hope? And she was like, sure.
That was at the Buffalo Cottage. And then we were able to do we went to the inauguration in D.C. that
we did
February.
That. Yeah, we did that in February.
It was freezing
cold.
But it was the most beautiful experience.
Yes, so many black people in D.C.
Beautiful
so many black people.
No fights.
It was like a pilgrimage.
It was just
nothing bad happened. Really,
it was so beautiful.
It was just black people everywhere.
Just love everywhere we went, and we had to walk many blocks.
So much walking.
So much, and we stopped at a couple of different brunches. I think Bridget knew one or two girls that were having brunches.
And then we knew Tammy had a brunch.
Tammy had a brunch. That's right.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful experience. We stayed with Aunt Kathy. We got on the train and we rode it into DC and it was just.
We had a great time.
We did. And we even got to see them walk a little bit.
Yeah, we saw when Obama and them came out of the church, right?
Yeah.
We were near the church when every president does that, going to the church thing.
Walk to the church and
then coming out into the caravan. So we happened to pass by. It was one of those interesting, we had been inside of a store and we saw them on the news and didn't realize that like as the direction we're walking in, they're going to be
coming
place.
Yeah.
It was like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of those, New York, DC moments where you go from watching a thing on TV to suddenly being next to the thing that's in TV.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, I just walked on the set.
If I stop watching the TV, I'll see that they're going to come.
Right. Just a block away.
Past us,
and it was just a happenstance thing.
It was.
That type of thing does not happen in Ohio, unfortunately.
Yeah, so. It's Washington, D.C. was such a great experience.
Yeah, and we're going to take the kids to Washington, D.C.
We're definitely going to take
when the world
kids.
opens up fully.
But I remember that time, and I remember how proud my grandfather was to experience.
Yes,
that
the black president, first black president.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and it wasn't. We know Jesse Jackson ran.
Yeah, I mean, there were multiple people who ran for president, but Obama was
this guy was the guy
to become the president.
But he was the guy, right? And this was a guy that we really stood behind and were excited about.
He had earned the title.
He had definitely earned it. And so, again, we are coming upon another election.
Critical election, it feels like.
It's incredibly important.
Yeah.
It's incredibly important. Let me just go ahead and stop here and say, first, giving honor to God, who is the head of my life. Listen, whatever happens, the Lord will provide, right? However, try Jesus, don't try me. We can't have another 4 years of this guy. I'm just going to put that out there.
I agree with you. I agree. He is a bad person and a bad president.
He is.
I'm still baffled by the people who don't see how bad a person he is. It's like, what are you paying attention to? But I mean,
what are you hearing when he says words?
Right. What do you hear?
What do you hear? Repeat back to me.
Right. It's an interesting experiment in group out group bias, because it's definitely like, as a person who feels like an out group, in this particular time, it's like, oh, you're not talking to me. And the people that he is talking to, they're just like, no, he's saying fine things. And it's like, no, he's saying horrible things.
He's saying horrible things. And what a lot of these people that support him are thinking is that he is talking to them. And he's not.
Well, but he is.
No, but he's not.
He
looks like you, but he don't support you.
Yeah, well.
Okay.
But he's saying all the things I want to hear. And
is he?
I saw a Twitter post, a tweet that said, that feeling that homosexuals have when they're finally able to be out and be respected and people appreciate it.
Yeah.
they said the tweet said that that's what people who support him feel like. He emboldens these attitudes and feelings that they've had.
Right.
And this is not everybody. It is the funny thing is like when you get it, like, don't stereotype us. We're not all racist. It's like some of you are really willing to give a pass to a lot of racism.
You may not be racist, but racist isn't a deal breaker for you. And that in and of itself.
And when a lot of brown people are telling you, we don't like these things he's saying, and you're like, but it's not that bad. You don't care.
You don't care because I'm telling you for us, it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
That when we hear him say these things.
Talk to the family of the George Floyds.
These are not things we would tolerate.
Talk to the families of Breonna Taylor. Talk to them and tell them it ain't that bad.
Right.
Okay. Right. That's not, and what's more, which is even ridiculous, is the Biden trust. The Biden-Harris truck. Yeah. Let me get that word right. Is down in Texas, and they have tons of Trump-supporting trucks and cars surrounding the van.
Yeah.
To the point where they decided not to. They didn't get out.
They didn't hold their event because they were scared that.
I don't know if anybody's seen the video yet or not, but it's a ton of.
It's several trucks. It didn't say how many, but
it was several.
Many of the trucks
obstructing the highway. I love how these are the same people that are like, I can't believe they're protesting on the highway. What if there's an emergency? And these are the same people with Trump signs, with Trump flags.
I drive through so many flags on the way to work. So many Trump pins, Trump pins, Trump pins, Trump pins.
Oh my gosh. It makes me sad because I would really love a house out there. With that amount of land, boy.
Well, I mean, there's an interesting phenomenon that happens when you get more agrarian. Agrarian people tend to remain Republican for a lot of different reasons, and there's a lot of things that could be said about why. But the more a place urbanizes and becomes more metropolitan,
I think location
that's when you tend to see more. Yes, no, it is definitely delineated. Like you could draw the lines.
Stuff doesn't affect you the same in the country, as it does for you in the city.
Right. And so you don't understand why there would be government that interferes or why you need, say, social programs because you don't rely on those things out in rural areas.
Because you're out. You've got acres.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to learn to be self-sufficient. Yeah. And so a gun is a tool there. It's not a thing that's killing your fellow man. It's a thing that protects you.
Right.
Like there are just stark differences. And I fundamentally understand that. But that's the hard part about running an entire country is that you have so many different people with different vested interests.
But there are people who can live that way.
Yeah.
And live the life that they live, but still understand that the life that they live could be vastly different.
Part of the problem is the messaging. So, I mean, you say the media as a monolith sends out certain messages and promotes certain ideals. And in this regard, I think there is a lot to be said for, because politics is a game, that needs to be won by a particular side. A lot of different tactics are used.
Yeah.
And as a result, you have to win people over. I think I learned that. When did I learn that? Al Gore taught me that. Al Gore. Yes. Al Gore taught me.
Created the internet.
Yeah. Al Gore taught me that people need to be emotionally invested. People didn't emotionally like him enough, even though he was a smart guy. Yeah. I remember thinking Bush is not necessarily a bad person, but he's not the guy you trust to do jobs. No. Al Gore was the guy who would stay late to do the job.
Right.
George Bush was the guy people liked, and so they voted for him. The Republicans have had a lot of different presidents who people just like. Which is interesting
because his brother didn't do quite so well when he tried to run later.
Bush's brother?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. Also, wasn't a person who engaged emotions. I think to be president, you have to have people engage you emotionally and intellectually. But I mean, as we've learned with, 45, emotion is enough. If you can get a good enough emotional reaction, people might overlook your intellectual flaws on the basis of just they have an emotional investment in you as a person.
So ultimately,
and in a culture of celebrity.
It's so ultimately the game is to engage people so that they feel seen, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you remember, even in your own experience, right? You ran for class president, right?
I did the work, man.
Yeah, you were going to do the work.
And I was the interim president.
Right. I
did all of the work.
Right. But when it came time for the people to vote
for the elections, it was the guy who had never. They voted for the popular guy.
Yeah.
He had not shown up to any meetings. He was not meeting with the Clifton organization groups like we were. He was not in any of that.
Yeah. And people will vote for a guy they like because that makes them feel seen and like.
But I'm in the trenches doing the actual work.
We love people with status because it makes us feel better to have beautiful, smart, who we see as beautiful, smart people at the top, whether or not they can do the job. We don't always vet by how the job is done and whether or not they're doing the job. We instead focus on...
I mean, I was kind of cute.
You didn't have it together enough. You obviously weren't popular enough.
I was not popular at all. Mm-hmm. That's not the point. I did the job.
Yeah, nobody cared.
No.
I'm sorry.
Cared.
I'm sorry. I mean, and so we just know that about human beings. And so that's why this election is definitely something we can't take for granted. To just echo a lot of the sentiment that's being passed around. And I'm not like the interesting thing is like I'm not strictly Democrat. Like I tend to vote Democrat because they say the things I like to hear. And I think that doesn't mean that I don't have any problems with the Democratic Party. That doesn't mean that I don't disagree on some major things or know that in some ways they have their own apathy to my conditions and the things that I think are important. My stump issues are always education and mental health. And, I think we should do something about the court system because I do know it's unfair. But like, I think in having those particular issues, I know when they're being ignored and I know when you have a person who spends more time on them, and Republicans traditionally just do not spend time on those particular issues, even though I know, and the research shows that they have long-term problems. If you ignore education, if you ignore mental illness, society has not been the same since we deinstitutionalized, and we need to do more for our most vulnerable. And we can't call ourselves a Christian nation. By the way, we should not be a Christian nation. They specifically put it in the Constitution. You're supposed to separate church and state. So some of the issues that are legislated are not legal problems, but they are instead moral problems, which people should, with them and their creator, decide. But I'm a believer that the country shouldn't necessarily mandate any religious doctrines because that's not what they made this country to be. We have to, as a country, sort of do what we need to do to get ourselves realigned, I think. And some of that will come with new president guy.
You sound real hopeful there.
I should be hopeful. Is that what you're saying?
New president guy?
New president guy. We get boring new president guy, and that will help to right the ship.
I'll take boring any day in comparison to
We should have a reality show president. We should never again have a reality show president. I can't
believe that he won in the first place.
As I said in, what was that, 2016?
After so much awesomeness. We had 8 years of awesomeness. Don't care what nobody says.
I mean, that's the problem, though. Anytime, history has showed us, anytime a black person goes beyond terms. Anytime a black person goes beyond what white people consider too far, too fast, white people will...
He done got all uppity on you.
White people will... It is historically proven that anytime white people think that black people have exceeded their grasp, their reach has exceeded their grasp, they will inevitably always have a snapback. This is historically proven. They will literally burn down neighborhoods if they believe you've come further than they think you should. And I think, 45 is, you don't get I think I said this when I was teaching a class, it's like you don't get the scrumptious smorgasbord of decency and honor that was the Obama presidency without having to take the crap that was the 45 presidency. Like, it's the other side of the equation. Like, as a society, we just have to do this. I think with America, yes. Like, anytime, there are multiple examples of black people got too far too fast. White people were like, we can't have this. We're going to break the very systems we put in place to make sure this never happens again, to prove that this shouldn't have happened in the first place. Well, why else would you explain, give everyone health care? We hate you for that. How dare you? How dare you even try that? And so much so that we're going to spend so many years arguing about why that was a bad idea, but never give a cogent plan on how to have a better plan.
Well, 45 doesn't have a plan for anything.
He's very good at talking about big things. He's doing big things. He just uses the word big a lot.
Things.
Yeah. You can talk vaguely. You can say some people are saying. He essentially is really good at hacking the human brain. It's amazing to watch as a person who studies people.
He is making a certain population feel seen.
Yeah. And feel powerful and strong. He's a powerful leader.
Yeah. Let me say.
Above reproach.
I don't I try not to curse.
No, you're not supposed to really curse too much on the podcast. We try to keep it relatively clean.
But for the population that he's speaking to and all those yahoos.
No, I mean, it's not all yahoos. There's some rich people who are like, yep, no, we're voting Republican too. We have to.
Honey.
We have to save the country from those other people who are going to burn it down.
No. Kirstie Alley, they're included. They're all yahoos too. Right? Mm-hmm. I have very strong words for those people and their stupid thoughts.
Oh,
I do.
How dare you call names? Your liberals are supposed to be the ones who are loving and bleeding heart.
I am a bleeding heart.
You're either bleeding. I don't know. This year we're either bleeding heart or we're also burning down the cities. I
don't know.
The rhetoric is so contradictory.
Which one are we? I feel
now.
I honestly had such a visceral.
And I don't know. Somebody had a laptop at some point. I don't know. It doesn't. None of it makes sense.
I had such a visceral reaction to all those dumb trucks and cars following that van. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I feel.
I mean, and the thing is,
they're egging people on, and I feel like.
Here's the thing about it: liberals almost never clap back with the same.
I'm looking for the clap back, and
we don't. I mean, if you look at the statistics that show, like over 200 times, I think it was like 120 times. I'm not 200. It's not 200. I feel like it was like 120 times. Black Lives Matter rallies overall been relatively peaceful.
Yes.
More of the time when there is violence, it is either police instigated violence or there are times where people have just driven over protesters. 120 times people have driven over protesters.
Right.
As a way of sort of getting back at them. For the most part, statistically, we are not acting upon the rage that a lot of people feel, and they're still doing it within certain parameters.
Boy, it would be.
We would genuinely tear it down, and I do think that there are people who are trying to agitate.
And honestly,
even if you look at like Minnesota, many of the agitators were not necessarily outside agitators so much as like homegrown, white terrorists. There's more of a threat in this country of white terrorism than there is black nationalism. But the rhetoric says we're the ones to worry about. It's always we're the ones to worry about, not the others. And so,
I mean, I feel there's a part of me that is like Martin, right? Like, hey, we got to find a way. Love conquers all. We got to find the best way to But then there's the other part of me that's like, so you asking for it, nigga, here now.
Oh, you just use the N-word on the podcast.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I gotta have to bleep that out. No. I mean, I can understand that. Like, we hit our limits. We hit our limits at a certain point. We hit our
limits, and there's so much frustration.
Yeah. I mean, the other side of that is...
They can't even ride their van to do their event. You don't want to go to the event, don't go to the event.
Right. But I mean, show of force. It is also Texas. Like, if you're going to go to Texas, be ready. I mean, but hey, America's seen worse things before around voting. It's just we've told ourselves we were beyond that. That's what's, to me, so interesting about this.
We're supposed to be beyond it. We're supposed to be beyond it.
Supposed to is a funny word.
We're supposed to be beyond it.
Supposed to is a funny word.
It's supposed to be...
Says who?
Growth. Says time. Says history.
But when you have a person at the top who's literally saying, yeah, go ahead, stand back, stand by, then you're going to get people who get more and more aggressive about these positions.
Which is, listen, there's this meme, and I want you to post it, where it's like, stand back, stand by, and it's like, he's, doofy with the... Because that's how I feel about you guys. That's how I feel.
I mean, but there are a lot of them who are waiting for, the order, and he is often doing things that are inflammatory that, traditional modern presidents just haven't done for years. But also, I said this when he was elected, there's a lot about him that's like, oh, no. I could see why white people don't see him as racist because, I mean, he's pretty much like a president we would have gotten 50 years ago. Except for some extra levels of incompetence baked in. But like, he sees himself as very Nixon-like.
I mean, they were probably just as incompetent back then too.
Yeah, ultimately, no, not this incompetent. I mean, like, you got your Hoover and, your McCarthy, not McCarthy. Shoot, I'm blanking on the name. But yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're...
Yeah.
But still, it's...
But it wasn't... some of his racist rhetoric is just old school rhetoric. And that's why white people love it, because they're like, he's saying it as it is. But it's like, if we stopped saying stuff like that a few years ago or a couple decades back, because we realized it's bad to say things like that.
Stop saying it publicly.
You're not supposed to say it publicly. He says a lot of the quiet stuff out loud.
He does.
So he'll say like, "Oh no, we're trying not to get as many votes from those guys." You're like, "You're not supposed to say that."
He has,
but also he's what the Republican Party built itself to be this. So I mean, he's the chicken coming home to roost.
I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
You kept going, and then I forgot what I was going to say. He's. It's
one of the reasons I try not to make the podcast about him, because you just get into this.
No, listen. I told you I was going to be on my stuff when you started talking about the politics, and honestly, he's not any different than people his age from his generation, right? Mm-hmm. I get that. I don't care. Mm-hmm. We a lot of us have evolved, okay, and just because you choose not to, doesn't mean that we have to acknowledge it, right? We should shun it. We should put it in a box. We should put that box in the ocean. See, I'm just getting, this is why we don't talk politics. I'm just riled up. And
right. Got your blood all up?
I just got my, and I don't have no blood pressure medicine. Please vote, y'all.
Hey, go out and vote. Something can be done. Don't let them make you feel like nothing can be done. Something can be done.
And honestly, it's like a lot of people say, and I will repeat it just in case there are people that just don't know. The president is voting for the president is incredibly important, but so is your local elections, right? There are judges that are just making ridiculous decisions, right?
Yep.
Our Supreme Court, I mean, y'all saw how that went, right? Yep. I mean, wow.
Yep.
That lady is just...
Yeah. So we need to make sure that we're doing our duty.
We need to do our duty
to get things under control.
We do need to. All of our votes matter.
Yeah.
There are hoops that we have to jump through, right? So it is Sunday. It is November 1st. At this point, if you vote, you need to either go to the Board of Elections in person, or you need to go to your specified voting location.
Yes.
We're going to vote in person on Tuesday. Mailing just not something that we were interested in doing. I know that the early voting has been going on, but
yeah, a lot of people have done it. Record numbers of early voters.
Record numbers, which I think is fantastic. I want to go. I want to do it in person. I want to get my sticker. I want you to say that you got my vote. It's incredibly important to me. Yeah. And I think that it should be important to everybody. Right. There are judges.
I agree.
There are prosecutors. There are all kinds of local elections that are also important that we should be paying attention to as well. All that stuff matters. It also goes back to people died. People were harmed.
Yes.
For this right to vote. I am Black and I'm a woman. So there was an immense amount of struggle to even afford
you the right
opportunity. Yeah. Exactly. So
we have to do our civic duty.
We do because they did it for us. Right. So that we could have this right. So I could
they're doing a lot to make it harder for us to vote. Which tells me that there's obviously something in the fact that they don't want us to vote. Right. Like they've been playing the long game. That's one thing they've done masterfully is play the long game on making sure that our votes mean less. Yep. They do a lot of gerrymandering. Or that you just mail you put it in and it's like they're doing a lot of jerry rigging. So which is why we say go down to the Board of Elections where it's official. Yeah. Or if you I feel like the Board of Elections has done a pretty good job of trying to get the information out. There's a lot more advertising and things around that. There's a ton of it. Listen, I'm already registered Facebook. Thank you. I'm going to vote. I promise. Right. Okay. Thank you, Instagram. I'm 42. I'm going to vote. I figured it out. Been voting the whole time. I've been. Right. I've never missed an election. Okay. Right. Local or otherwise. Right. But yeah, I think there is something to be said for making sure you get out there, follow the rules. You know, I know some people I saw somebody was at the Board of Elections here in Cincinnati and the guy was like, I'm going to act a fool if they make me wear a mask. Sir, you have to wear a mask everywhere. You should be wearing a mask everywhere. Why aren't you already prepared for that? Why aren't you? So you don't want to vote? Maybe I don't want you to vote. Right. Because I feel like by your behavior, Right. Right. And it's just like if we had better leadership, the whole mask thing wouldn't have been.
It wouldn't have been. I think, and I agree. I think what's interesting is these last 4 years have shown us exactly what that position can do as far as influence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we joked about.
I used to always think that the president was just a figurehead.
Yeah. We joked about that with Bush, right? That the real person behind it was a bunch of other people, and maybe the vice president Cheney, right?
Yeah,
we joked about that all the time. Like, he's not really doing all of the actual work. It's just those guys behind him. Trump does what he wants. Yeah. 45 does what he wants.
Yeah. And he also brings in a lot of incompetent people who are willing to do stuff.
And then he fires them, or they get fired, or they go to jail. Like how people don't see this as an issue. How many people have left? It's just amazing to me to see all that is happening in that office and still be like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That brings me to another point. How do you feel about some of our African American celebrities who say they're going to vote for him?
I don't know why we never listen to celebrities in the first place.
Why do we even care? I get that. I don't care what Kanye does. He doesn't live in the same world that I live in, right? Same for 50 Cent and Ice Cube and Lil Wayne. How do you feel about their support of 45? So Ice Cube's, I will get into the weeds on the Ice Cube didn't really support 45 so much as he spoke with him. Which on the one hand, it's like speaking to the president, whether or not he's a complete idiot is a thing you're allowed to do. I'm
not the worst thing you could ever do in the world.
Agree.
I think some of them have endorsed him or said, 50 Cent said it, but 50 Cent is a notorious troll. Lil Wayne did, but Lil Wayne also is under.
They said it for tax reasons, right? That they would vote for him for tax reasons.
50 Cent said tax reasons. Lil Wayne said he would, or he just endorsed the platinum plan. But also, Lil Wayne is going to need to be pardoned on some legal things. So he's also playing his personal game.
It's exactly what you just said, though. Lack of
empathy for or just sort of seeing how his help for you is better than what he might be doing to. I've appreciated the people who've said. The fact that Trump is offering to do things for people in the future doesn't discount all the bad he's done as of today.
Agree.
Right? Or even that Joe Biden might have said some things in the 90s when we were genuinely looking for ways to curb the street violence and crime that was happening as a result of drugs. And rather than just hold him accountable for what he did 20, 30 years ago, there's a guy who's genuinely doing bad things today. I don't think of Biden as the best person in the world, but I also know he is completely different than the guy in the office now who's truly screwing up the bag for everybody.
Right. And I think that was the issue with the last election with Hillary. They had some issues with things that she had said and done, or that her husband had said and done in the 90s. And I understand that we've got to look at their history. We got to look at the things that they've done. But guys, legit every day, 45 does something new, and you're like, really? Yeah. Really? Yeah. It is exhausting. Yeah. The amount of I mean, I don't know how he didn't lose a lot of support when he made fun of the disabled reporter. I don't know how he didn't lose support after putting those babies in cages.
There's so many things he could do. There's so many things he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't get to the list because this podcast it can't be 5 hours long.
Yeah.
There's many things he's done that have definitely been outside of human decency, immoral, questionable, just wrong things. And as a result, we've got to use the one lever we have now, and that is voting. And then after that, whether or not he concedes, we'll use hopefully the other levels of power that can be used against him. But I do believe, I believe the Senate's definitely going to flip. I'm a big believer that there's going to be some changes there. Hopefully we can get Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell out and make some changes.
Just lay Mitch McConnell down, okay? Lay him down. I am all the way down.
Have all the seats, sir. I believe that there's going to be some change. Change is going to come. I'm a strong believer in that. So as I walk into so it's interesting. Like I said, I took my birthday off. I knew that my birthday and election day, didn't realize I was going to be taking the day after election day off until it like occurred to me. Oh wait, the day you're taking off is the day you will be recovering from either a good night or a bad night. I remember when 45 was elected in 2016, there were a lot of people who were very hurt and sad and a lot of marginalized populations who were very afraid. Mm-hmm. And a lot of their fears have actually come to bear. They've lost a lot of rights in the past 4 years that just we had hoped.
A lot of things were reversed. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there have been consequences for these people who were afraid. And the increase in negative rhetoric and things that have been very hurtful and bad. And as a result, I don't believe that those populations will do well if he does get another 4 years. I believe that's going to be, we're going to see a lot more bad things as a result. So that's one of the reasons that I think it's important that we use what we can to make the change. On that note, I think it's probably time for us to wrap up.
But please go out and vote.
Yes,
if you haven't already done it. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes.
It is about that time. You know what the music means.
You know what the music means. Our time is up.
I say good day, sir.
I say good day. The Hall Space Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Dagger Pen Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week.
Figured I'd drop this quick freestyle on my big bro, because it's his birthday. He turned 43 years old. So dig, dude. We came a long way from Slash and Trash News. You got your own comics in the podcast too. Back in the fuse, showing me why I always want to be like you. Woo! So dig on the husband and father with 3 kids, a good Dr. Shining Sample and showing us how to live. I couldn't be me if he hadn't paid out the way. So it's a small thing for me to take time to say, I love you, man. You're my hero and I'm forever your fan. So the happiest of wishes on this, your birthday, and if it's as good as you, then I know it's going to be great. Haha. Big on that. Oh, look at the beautiful baby. Yeah.
House Hall. We rise brilliantly.